All right, we are live. Good. Hey guys, if you jumped on early, I see we got someone from Seattle. Good morning, Seattle. What's going on up there in the Pacific Northwest? We got, I don't know what time is it. We got another couple minutes or so, Jeff. Yeah, who else? I mean, who else do you besides Manarino, besides Fernandez? Super compact.
Yeah, I think. Who was I thinking of? Anyway, those two are the like. But I think Lily Fernandez, her technically, if you're like you're going to model something without being overly coiled, overly windshield wiper, overly this, overly anything. I think it's a beautiful piece of technical work. And again, also part of her athleticism, her athletic expression. She also moves from that grip into other grips just absolutely seamlessly. And I think that's a massive failing of some of the other guys on the tour that can't move like a putter seamlessly from grip to grip to grip. Rafa, as extreme as you might say he is, he moves from grip to grip to grip again seamlessly, And I think that's watching players come up. It's kind of obvious that they're stuck. They're so.
Well, look, that's a whole other topic about.
Yeah.
And by the way, guys, we're to get started here. Let's just decide to stop ranting.
Just sit there. We're just gonna.
But I do think, in terms of grips, I think that if you're being taught something that's extreme, which would be semi to full on the forehand, that I think what happens is players get so locked into the grip in the ready position, that they just clamp down, and trying to move to another grip is really tough. So, hey, Mike, we got Michael Rogers there. Can you see the comments, Jeff?
I can. I flipped it over there. Yeah.
Okay, good.
And I got an echo. How bad is the echo?
It's a little scratchy.
Okay.
But I don't hear an echo so much.
I'll talk louder. Does that help if I?
I wouldn't talk louder.
No, I meant lighter. Like
lighter.
Oh. Yeah.
Scratchy
like the scruff,
Yeah. So, guys, look, if you've got a YouTube channel, a YouTube account, you can actually leave a message. Guys are wondering about Jeff and his Dollar Shave Club. Thank you, Mike. Yeah.
Yes, Michael.
Yeah. Apparently his subscription expired. So it's
It expired this morning. Yeah, this is an hour and a half of growth. Yeah.
That's right. So all right, well, let's stop the nonsense here, Mr. Jacklich, because we have to try to get some actual instruction out there this morning, guys. I was checking on the date. The last time I posted anything online was literally exactly 3 months ago, December 16th. Anyway, so just a quick update on me. I decided December 16th, 17th, or 18th, whenever that was, woke up one morning just kind of going, you know what, I'm ready for a little break here. I've been posting something daily for literally years. And of course, Jeff over there was part of that years in terms of 365 days in a row. That was a life-changing experience, by the way, Jeff. I think in some good ways.
I agree.
Anyway, so but I just decided I needed a break, and so I kind of put the message out there. I'm going to take a break for the holidays. Lo and behold, January 1st shows up, and I go, this break feels pretty good. Pretty good. So I just kept it rolling, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Working on my own game. I got an ambitious tournament schedule coming up, starting in just about 2 weeks, starting with the Wilson here in the desert, and then I am going to play the Worlds in Florida. I'm going to go hang out with the great Phil Landauer for a couple of 3 days in Naples, get the good stuff from him and his wife, Mikey, and then play the Worlds on the East Coast over in Palm Beach County, Boca. So I'm leaving here. Wilson finishes on the 10th. I'm going to leave here on the 26th, and then I'll be there hopefully until May 7th. We shall see.
So you're just playing the individuals, not the team.
Yeah. I'm not on the team this year. Did not apply. I don't think I would have made it, even though they had some COVID things where they went back a few years. Just don't think I would have made the team. So, I'm gonna play the individuals, and then let's see. Then what after that? I've been toying with going to Baton Rouge, but the last time I went there, hey, no disrespect to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but I guess I just didn't see the good parts of it when I was there last time. So, but I got to tell you, the Bocek Racket Club, the members there are unbelievable. I mean, they get so into it. And if you've got a 4:00 doubles match scheduled there on one of the front 2 or 3 courts, they have this porch that kind of goes down at an angle, and the members, start doing this right away. And if you've got a local that you're playing doubles against, it's the best. It's
That's
just
awesome.
the best. And of course, then they have this big crab feed or whatever it is there, local fare. And it's
whatever's boiling in there, right?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's really good. So I'm going to play Berkeley. Berkeley, as you may know, is earlier this year. It's actually May 18th through the 22nd.
Pre-Memorial weekend.
Yeah. They decided to move it up a week, try to get it off of that weekend, which I thought was good.
Yeah.
And then
Marin's canceled.
And then I'm going to go play Irvine hard courts in early to mid-June, and then we'll kind of reassess. So anyway, that's it for me. I'm kind of pumped. I've been doing a lot of training and obviously hitting lots of balls, getting off the stationary bike now, doing more sprints and kind of stretch band work, that kind of stuff. So, and by the way, we've got our the crawfish bowl. That's right. Yeah. Thank you. That's what it is. Our new tennis director here, Greg Holmes.
Yeah.
From Northern California. He's now 58 years old, but former number 22 in the world. Heard a great story about him yesterday. Actually, from a good friend.
Most guys on the call here may not even recognize the name or know, but he's a NorCal guy out of the Bay Area.
Danville.
Two-handed off both sides. Now, what's really interesting, though, is that on return of serve, he switched. He wasn't standing off both, one grip of both. He switched sides. And on a return of serve, it was amazing to watch. And think about that, 22 in the world, and he did this on an incoming hot ball.
Yeah. No, I mean, he beat everybody in the world. And, if you're 22 in the world, you're a serious baller. And so I heard a good story yesterday from our friend Joel Drucker about Greg and Jimmy Connors. And back in the day when, I'm down here in the desert now, we got Indian Wells going on. This is the last week, but it used to be held over at the Grand Champions, which is just like, you just big ass tournament. You're just going into some little country club. You're sitting on the grass watching these great players. So as the story goes, Connors or Wilson was trying to get Jimmy to switch off of the T2000 onto a new frame. And he tried it for a couple of weeks or something like this. And he finally goes out and he plays Greg Holmes here. And Greg beats him. And Jimbo goes right back to the T2000. That's it. So, anyway. So listen, guys. Well, let's get rolling. So, Jeff, the title of this is, kind of hypey. I kind of like it. It's what we're doing today is tips don't work. Tennis tips don't work. And so, and I've been telling people, and that Jeff will tell you what to do instead. But tennis tips don't work, Jeff. How come?
Well, we got to define. Let's define that first, right? And so, in our conversation pre getting together this morning, Brenny, was I said, is the player building their foundation on tips? Is that what your tennis foundation is built on? Is it built on tips? or are you building it on fundamentals, right? And
so define the difference between a tip and a fundamental.
A tip is something, you know, at a restaurant.
I see. You enjoy the service, you enjoy the food. Here you go.
But even the tip is now, if you even break that silly comment down, what does a tip reflect? The tip reflects a baseline of service, a foundation of good service. Now, once we get past the 15%, we start hitting the 20%, 25, 30%. That means the server has fundamentally done a great job, and then built on that this experience for you. They've added to your experience because the foundational service was absolutely spot on. He was there when you needed him, and he was unseen otherwise, but stuff was still happening at your table, right? So you know, by definition, I went into the, you know, Webster's, and a tip is a piece of advice, or expert or authoritative information. It's a piece of advice, right? So if you think about, like, you know, when you go on YouTube, it's the 5 top tips to hit your this better, the, you know, whatever, 14 tips to hit your topspin forehand better. It's just, it's so foundationally thin that you can't build a game. And I wrote down, you know, what is the definition of foundation too, and that it's an underlying base for support, right? So the foundation on a house. You walk into a new house, especially if it's custom.
Jeffrey, hold on for one sec. We're getting some comments about your audio. Can you try a headphone? See if that works any better.
Let me. Yeah.
Let's see if that works. You know, as Jeff is trying to get his audio improved here. You know, in terms of tips don't work, my thinking of a tennis tip, you know, specific to the game of tennis, is that it's kind of a quick fix. The whole perception is a quick fix, and it, just like Jeff is saying, it's not a foundational thing. The game of tennis is really built on habits, some good, some bad. Jeff, can you hear me okay? Boy, that's worse. That's way worse. Yeah, that's worse. Horrible. Is there a microphone there on those headphones? No, I nix those. Well, your microphone's kind of screwed up now. But yeah, I think Joe's right. You know, a tip can be termed as a shortcut. And look, in terms of a shortcut, I don't mind if a shortcut is simplifying a fundamental, right? If you're really trying to simplify fundamentals, that's great. That doesn't mean eliminating fundamentals. It just means being cleaner with fundamentals. But, you know, to get back to why Jeff and I believe that tips are really kind of the death of trying to improve, is that they don't really help you build habits. And the game is really all about habits. We either have good habits or we have lousy habits. And so I look at, just the way Jeff was saying about, by definition, it's a piece of advice. Okay, well, if it's a piece of advice, then you tinker with it and you see that, you know what, this could be a good habit to build. But the tip is just the start. It's just where you start building something as a habit. And 99.9% of the players out there are not willing to spend the time
Yeah.
to build a habit.
Yeah. I think, and in that, one of the things I wrote down was, did Rafa and Fed and Djokovic, they've got 61 Grand Slams between the three. Rafa with 13 unprecedented French Opens. Did he win those because Uncle Tony gave him a tip?
Well,
I mean,
yeah, and I think the
conceptually it's silly.
I think the other reality here, Jeff, is that I'm sure Uncle Tony gave him some advice, and yet that advice was the start of probably a year-long habit building process to make a change in Rafa's game. But I think we just get sucked into this online stuff, even on court stuff, where you've got your club teaching pro and you're out there for 1 hour. 1 hour is not gonna. I mean, he might be giving you the golden nugget, and yet if he doesn't send you away after that 1 hour with, here's your practice plan, Jeff, for the next 6 days until I see you next week at the same time.
Right.
And the practice plan is, it's daily, and it includes rehearsing at home. It includes rehearsing on the court with really slow feeds. It might include rehearsing on the ball machine with slow feeds. It might require rehearsing on a backboard without just crushing the ball against the backboard, so that you develop the feel of whatever that advice is. But how often do you see that happening? I mean, in terms of a coach giving a student a piece of advice and then saying, we've just started, so I'll see you for the next year every week. And, in between those times, here's your homework.
Yeah, I think the lack of clarity is a massive failing by our industry. The clarity of what is the foundation, what's the fundamental in this. I think Mike, you're on. Mike Rogers, he's on the call today, and when we first got together, we spent an hour and a half together. We spent probably 30 minutes or so talking. I was trying to dig in and what's this guy all about. And then we hit balls, and then I think we had a couple of sessions, and then he sent me some video of a match. I watched the first 2 games. I didn't need to see the whole match. I watched the first 2 games. The next session, I brought the computer, we put it up, and I hardballed it as nice as I could, and I said, Mike, I can't take you any farther down the road until you can do these 3 fundamentals over and over again. And I walked him out to the court, and I went, you just need to focus on these 3 things, which was a ready position, preparation, and getting your spacing right. I go, and then recovery. There's 4 things, right? But it was this fundamental foundational truth that none of your strokes will reach the potential of what they could be if you can't do those things. And that's just a fundamental truth of the game. So this is where I think so many pros aren't willing to push their students to see, are they actually interested in improving, or are they interested in just having a nice hour on the court with me? And listen, both are legit reasons to be on the court. I've got tens of thousands of hours under my belt, as well as you, Brenny, teaching, club students, and both are legitimate reasons for that client to be on the court with you. And can you figure out as a coach who's who?
Yeah.
So, and Mike did the listening. He had a great year this last year. And I mean, as we were working on it too, I could see session by session that things were improving. Then we could get on with tactics and pattern work. and doing those things that are built on top of the foundation of being able to execute 10 forehands in a row. And oh, guess what? They all go in. We're not talking about hitting winners. We're not talking about just the basic primary execution of your strokes. Can you sustain a rally for 8, 9, 12, 15, 20, 30, 40 balls? And if you can't, we're talking about just basic rally pace, 65% ball. If you can't be in a rally with somebody else who's, let's say, can meet your level, and you guys can find a pace to actually execute a rally like that, you have some work to do. And it's not, oh, I need to get a little bit more spin on the ball. That will improve automatically if you can do the former.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Joe brought up a question here, which to me is, I'm going to answer it more philosophically, which is he's asking, you know, how can I lengthen my forehand swing path? And so what I would tell him is that this is the exact discussion we're having, is that, Joe, until I see your forehand, until not only in just rallying, but until I see your forehand in a match, I can't tell you how to do it. In fact, what I might tell you is you don't need to lengthen it. You're hitting it fine. Here's the problem. You're just hitting it to the wrong spot at the wrong time. Maybe you're pulling the trigger too early in the point. But it might be that we get out there in the court and I say, hey, Joe, can you hit a forehand and have it go above this height over the net so that it lands over there in the court, without thinking about lengthening your swing path? And if the result is it can be done over and over and over again, then why would we change that? You know, why would I throw out a tip to Joe on this thing without seeing him play first and seeing what he can or can't do with it? So that's my answer to you, Joe.
Yeah, without seeing it, it would be a random shot in the dark to lengthen, and is it necessary? You know, I look at the stroke and it's reverse engineering. Where is this thing going off the rails? So Joe, I you know, it could be there's something fundamentally happening in your prep, in your spacing. Is your framework collapsing before you even get to lengthening the stroke that throws it off? So, is it how we recommend the jobber speak for attended? Is that a headset? Is that, normally, listen, again, this is one of those weird things that here you know.
Yes, it is. I think so.
Yeah. So
I got a question here for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
How do you naturally, and that's kind of the key word here, how do you naturally get the racket under the ball for a standard topspin forehand groundy? And once you give us the answer to that, what's a habit building process?
So question again.
How do you naturally get the racket head under the ball for a standard topspin forehand groundy? You know, not a crazy, full Western windshield wiper, but how do you naturally just get it slightly under the ball?
And we're talking about a ball that's
standard topspin forehand ground stroke,
and a ball that's coming in
normal, standard,
thigh high, right?
Thigh high,
right there. So first, I always look at posture. If our postures, we have good posture, then our legs tend to then work automatically with dropping us underneath that contact point. So that's always something I look at first. Before I start tinkering with the actual swing path and stroke, does this player have good posture? And when they move to the ball, are they maintaining that posture so their footwork can be as natural as possible? Their spacing becomes as natural as possible. Their athleticism can start to work for them, as opposed to just being a compensating tool because the posture and balance is challenged. right? So that would be my answer without seeing what you're doing. Is first you got to check your posture to make sure your legs are available to actually drop you under the ball. And I'm not talking about deep end either. It's just a natural drop under the ball.
Okay. Then what about grip pressure, grip tension? Seems to me that if you relax the hand, that the racket head will naturally drop. Gravity will start to kind of drop it down a little bit without actually having to force it down into a, unnatural hand position.
Yeah. So obviously good posture relates to body tension. So we're back in that loop again, right? So if I'm kind of hunched over and I'm tight and my ready position is this compact, kind of balled up thing, my hand tension, my grip tension is going to reflect that. So the minute I can get a player to stand up and take a good posture, good balanced position, then this whole game is posture driven. So that allows the hands then to have an opportunity to have softer grip tension. Doesn't mean you will, but you have an opportunity now to actually tinker with it and feel how it works within the swing path.
Yeah.
And everybody's a little different. Everybody's a little different. So I think that's an interesting question down at the bottom there. Are those tips or fundamentals? Posture is a fundamental, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Posture is absolute foundational fundamental of the game.
And I would also say relaxed grip is also a fundamental.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I can't have one. It's very hard to have one without the other.
Yeah. So the follow-up question, well, what's the process for, let's say, developing a softer, lighter grip pressure? And to me, it's like, the process to me is, first of all, you have to write it down on a piece of paper that this is something that you want to do, right? You can't just be, oh, okay, I got it. I'll go out in the court and do it. You got to write it down. This is a process. You got to rehearse it at home. You got to feel. You have to feel all of this. What's it like to actually have a loose grip, relaxed grip, and feel the racket head drop as you swing, as you rehearse a swing?
Right.
And you do that a ton. It's not like 3 times. It's like 20 times every 2 hours for the next month at home. And then you go out on the court and you rehearse it again on the court. It's a different feeling on the court, right?
Right.
And then you have someone just underhand feed you balls. And you're not gripping and ripping. You're still trying to feel, am I actually holding the racket in a relaxed way, like I did at home, as I swing the racket, and not care about the result of the shot. Just don't care about it.
Yeah.
And over time, I can't tell you how long it's going to take you to develop that into a fundamental. Everyone's different in terms of their learning capabilities. I'm a little bit, it takes me a little bit longer than the other guy, Jeff, as you know.
There's no predicting that as a coach and a teaching pro. There's no predicting when the aha moment is going to happen, right? So I think Joe has another. It's interesting there. Okay, that's my question. I can do that on the ball machine in a match, but in a match against a better player, maybe. So this is progression. Can you in a practice set rally, how many can you get? Hey, you know what? I seem to be able to get 2. Okay, now the goal is to get 3. Okay, now I got 3. Okay, now I get 4. This is this mind-numbing repetition of the game to build that quality into your stroke. I can tell you this, at 61, that quality of being, let's say today, it's the unbelievably loose in the hand, the grip tension, watching these players today. And Brenny, you were just watching the other day, right, at Indian Wells. The amount of hand and wrist action is unbelievable, right? And Brenny, you're the same as me, right? That wasn't That just wasn't part of the development of that. That was something you kind of, some players had it, some players didn't. And so even for me, I try to make sure I'm in that vein of having a softer feel, softer hand. And sometimes it gets away from it. As the pace starts to increase, I tend to tighten my grip. And I try to be aware of it, but it gets away from me sometimes too. But Joe, the thing there is that you do it on the ball machine. And when you do it on the ball machine, can you hit 10 balls to the exact same target? And if you're within, say, 2 to 3 feet of that target, you're doing really well. It's not about hitting the cone. If you're within 2, 3 feet of that, you're starting to zero it in. When you play, it's how many in a row can I hit right now? I seem to be a 3 or 4 baller right now. Okay, we have to be aware of it. And are you playing players that don't allow you the freedom to actually develop it, right? So I need players that maybe don't hit the ball so hard while we're playing sets, guys that don't hit the cover off the ball. Maybe I should play more of those guys while I'm developing this to get a feel of moving through it, and then play the better, the guys that hit the ball with a little more pace. It's really important to, no matter
Jeff, what you're talking about is you're talking about a daily commitment. You're not talking about, okay, I see. Okay, that's what I should do. And then just thinking you can go out and do it. I mean, great. You get the advice, and I like that way better than tip. You get the advice, and you start building from there. And the building process is going to take some time. So, Jeff, I got a few questions from emails.
Yeah.
Here's one from Jeff. My question is, I used to play a lot when younger and loved getting a short ball, but I could really connect and hit a forcing shot. Now older and not playing much lately, but I'm getting back into tennis again at age 60. I have a hard time with balls with no pace or little pace. Just getting it in, just getting in behind the approach, I think is what he's saying. I get lobbed or passed when I try to hit an offensive shot. I don't have confidence and miss it. I play doubles mostly. So
welcome to senior tennis.
Yeah.
There's a fundamental truth here too as well, and that is hitting a ball that doesn't have a lot of pace, that kind of checks up and kind of hangs in the air. Generating your own pace is not an easy thing to do. Let's just get that on the table. It's a tactic that I use quite a bit against opponents because of that. I get a lot of guys that overcrank net 2-3 feet long because I'll hang a ball out in the middle of the court deep, but middle of the court baseline, and I'll watch him just overcoil, overcrank, and see you later. And Brenny, you know the tactic quite well. So like, how do you deal with that? So a ball that checks up and doesn't hit and then move through the strike zone like a regular rally ball does, that ball that hits and checks up instead of moving through means that you have to physically adjust up to the ball a little bit. It's a very subtle thing, and you have to see it over and over and over again. And let's just start again with, let's make it. And you're going to get past. Okay, now that I'm making it 95% of the time, what's my throttle range right now? Okay, let's hit it a little harder. Okay. This is all progression. And again, progression is a fundamental truth of learning this game. You're biting off little bits.
Yeah. So look, I'm thinking about his question in terms of doubles, and he's saying he's getting passed or he's getting lobbed. So obviously he's approaching to a player in doubles who's back on the baseline. Common these days at 3-5, 4-0 level, right? So my thought is, why would I give him a ball that he wants, even if I hit it really well, like maybe I used to in my 40s? Why would I give him a ball that's really not going to even if it's hit well, he's still going to pass. He's still going to lob. So why not make it look like I'm going to play a deep ball and play a dropper? Why not bring him out of his comfort zone? I know it's doubles. We don't want to bring guys up to net. Sure we do. Lots of times you want to do that. And so, and if I bring him up to net, even if I only win, like let's say we do it twice and I only win one of those points, at least I put that thought in his mind. And he's going to start playing closer inside the baseline, trying to protect against the dropper. Well, now a standard average speed deep approach is going to eat him up. And so you got to think a little bit differently here, rather than thinking about technique as the answer to solving the problem in the game. Start thinking about geometry. Start thinking about tactics in terms of shot choice. And shot choice meaning, where do you want that guy to have to move to next over there? And where are you going to move in relation to where you're going to move that guy?
Right.
And so I just think there's way too much, I got to change technique, as opposed to, no, you don't. You can make this a whole lot easier.
And guess what? I'm 61. I don't hit the ball as hard as I did when I was 24. That's just, that's just the truth, so you have to become a little bit more tactically aware. It's a physical chess game, and you have to be adjusting your tactics as you age up to accommodate what your range of skill set is now, right? I don't play the same game before. At 24, when I was playing the tour between 20 and 24, I was Spider-Man. I'd crank a first serve, Spider-Man the volley, call it good.
Well, and so we adjust, right? And that's one of the things with the reality of getting older, is we have to be open to adjusting. And if you're still thinking you're a young buck and you're to go out there and just bang the ball, you're going to put yourself in trouble. Jeff, here's another email doubles question from Dana. In doubles, when returning serve, I'm still thinking about the server's partner. Can't I just decide to assume the server's partner isn't poaching? I can be confident with that assumption and play my return as a cross-court approach, unless a lob return is the obvious choice. And so I think that's a great question, because I think the reality is, in most of the doubles we play, whatever skill level it is, and especially in senior stuff, is that we're concerned about the server's partner when we're returning, but the reality is they're rarely moving.
Right.
They might be shaking a bacon and fake poaching a lot, but rarely do they ever time a perfect poach move.
Right.
So if that's the case, can't we just play an approach shot on our return?
Yeah, if the serve is that, let's say, soft, that you can, and I'm not talking about just a bloopy serve. I mean, I do it all the time off the second serve for sure. A ball hangs in the air just a hair longer, and you have a take it and go in.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. One is, are you giving the net player more credit than he deserves? Meaning, even if he's active, is he a really good volleyer? Right. So I take that into account when I'm playing doubles. And so if he's showing me that, he doesn't really, and if he does poach, he really doesn't stick the ball really. So I look at that and go, you know what? I don't prepare and go to my return with my right eye cheating to see if he's poaching or not, to see if I can outsmart him. I know 99% of the time I'm taking the ball cross court, and I focus on hitting the best return I can, a high quality cross court return, and let that guy have to deal with a high quality ball.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. If he starts to become an annoyance, take him downtown, right? I don't really go for the pass either. I just go for the belly button. I want him to stay home. And then again, I'm testing his ability to handle a hot ball. And what's his technique? Is he really solid as a volleyer? I've had matches where I'll tell my partner, who's starting to think, because the guy's poaching, and I'll tell my partner, listen, I don't care if he poaches. He doesn't really hit a hot volley. So go ahead. He can come at me all day long. I'm good. So I put my partner at ease by saying, don't worry about him. I got him, because he doesn't hit a hot ball anyway. So at the service line, I'm going to be fine even if he poaches, because he's not going to be able to hit the ball that hard. So there's the subtle factors in that are important to recognize, but definitely don't hit the return with one eye on the net guy, thinking you're going to try to outfox him at the last second. Groove. The fundamental here is, the foundation is, can you hit a solid cross-court return over and over and over? Can you own that shot? That's the truth in that.
Yeah. So I would say that if you're practicing, you're playing one-on-one doubles, and you're just practicing, there's just the two of you in the court, and you've got your practice partner over there serving. He doesn't have a net player up there. You're probably, now you're not even thinking about a net player, obviously, because there's not one there. So your confidence level's higher, right? So to me, Jeff, what I kind of feel like is that, all right, I got a guy up there who's shaking a bacon. He's fake poaching all the time. But I have to tell myself sometimes, just be confident. Just choose. I've got free will to be confident. Why would I let some guy who's maybe not even fake poaching, he's just standing there, why would I let that person get in the way of my confidence? Aren't I in charge of that? Yeah. Right. So the great Dick Johnson, I've shared this story so many times, but it resonates so much of what we're talking about here. Is he just told me once, he said in doubles, look, just like you said, I'm just trying to hit a quality return cross court. Quality not meaning that I'm hitting a scorcher at the guy's feet or I'm hitting an outright winner, but a quality return is it's going cross court, it's putting the ball in front of his partner, which we want. And he says that no matter how well I hit it, I'm assuming it's coming back.
Right.
And he said, and that's okay. And we'll just take it from there. Right. So this whole thing about, well, I've got to hit it so well because I don't want it to come back. And if it does come back, what do I do then? You'll just figure it out. Yeah. You'll just know what to do. And so it really gets back. I think it gets down to pick out a target. And, I play the ad side most of the time. And for me, if I look at the center strap, this holding down the net in the middle of the net, frick, what a great target to hit the ball over. If I've got someone who's pinching, the middle a little bit, service partner, okay. I can now imagine a spot above the top of the net that's maybe a foot to the right of the center strap.
Yeah.
So as the incoming service, is the service incoming in my mind's eye, because I'm not looking at that spot, I'm going, there's my target. Yeah. And I just try to hit it there, no matter forehand, backhand, maybe it's, unless it's obviously going to be a tough serve that I want to lob. But just have a target in mind. Forget the guy. Yeah. And just hit a quality ball there. So let's go to another question here, Jeff. It's kind of actually, Owen and I have already just decided that it's too windy. So
too windy out there. I'm going to jump back here to tennis 979 there. How about turn the doorknob or lead with the hip for the arm, legs, dog? So I'm not a phrase coach. A lot of those things, and I understand them. I know the phrases. A lot of those things are simply part of the kinetic chain. So if I can get the front end of the deal set up right, a lot of those things are just simply part of your body uncoiling. And so for me, and again, this is just me. A lot of guys have success with other methodologies in coaching and teaching, but for me, I'm not that guy. I tend to work in different terms, and again, always foundationally from posture and balance driven, and then we go from there to get things to happen in a manner that actually is reflective of your athleticism.
Well,
so
there's
anyway,
a whole other topic right there.
huh?
There's a whole other topic that I want to reserve for another time with you, Jeff, which
Totally.
is, how do we express our natural, unique,
Yeah.
not forcing a square peg into a round hole, but how do we express our natural athletic / mental skills, abilities into the game of tennis? But we'll take that up another time.
I want to circle back too really quick here and just say, give a shout out to Michael Rogers again for, because he was in this last year, he was number one in the 55s and the 3.5s. So we started with a guy that was kind of all over the map, got him corralled down to what I mentioned at the very beginning when we started talking. And so that's an awesome job, Mike. Awesome job.
Yeah, no, it's cool. That's cool. All right, here's something from Phil. He actually took me up on my offer to send in questions for today's session through email. He's got 5 questions. But I'm going to start with the first one, Jeff. And this one actually is more, I think, of a comment, but it just dovetails perfectly into what we're talking about today. He says, from Phil, I am a 76-year-old 4.0 player with lots of years of instruction in my head. Oh, boy. Unfortunately, I never know which lesson / tip will activate on any given day or point. I usually recall having learned various things that I've found in videos. I just haven't thought about them recently. So, I mean, that just says it all right there, which is
you're not alone.
I'm not sure which tip I got 3 months ago is actually going to show up today. Wait a minute. I mean, it's like, okay, I don't want to get you. Anyway, so I'll let you respond to that one, Jeff.
Yeah.
It's just wild, right? I mean, you basically answered your own question by saying which one is going to show up, I don't know. Well, then pick one.
This conversation should be in the evening so we can get a cocktail and really
dive in. Huh? Yeah.
Really, unpack it, right? Here, okay. Unfortunately, he's not alone, right? And so this is where the distinction comes down, that my guess would be is that you're at a loss for what the fundamentals of the strokes are. Therefore, there's nothing for you to go back to start kind of refresh each day with what should I be establishing like when I go out to hit a ball, when I go out to hit with you, Brent, whatever, we're both doing our like daily routine of getting aware today. Oh, I'm feeling a little sore because I played a little more yesterday. And so let's make sure I'm standing up. Let's make sure I'm getting a good turn. My framework is good today, this morning. I'm touching those foundational fundamental truths. And then I kind of see where the natural, how's my grip tension after I've handled those things? Am I watching the ball to the contact point? Where's my contact point today? Oh gosh, I'm feeling a little sluggish today. I can feel like the ball's kind of rolling me over a little bit this morning here. So let's pick up the pace in terms of recovery, and let's get a little footwork action going here. Not that it's not that footwork is a tip, it's a fundamental truth. I have to be able to organize it so I can get to the point where, okay, I've got my stuff organized now. Let's just start hitting balls now, and I'm back on track. But you're getting back on track through the fundamentals, not because, I remember now, Brenny said I should loosen up my grip tension. But really the reality is you're stuck in the mud and you're really not creating good spacing. So I think hopefully that makes some sense.
No, it makes total sense. Like when I warm up, and I do like to warm up short court, because I use the short court as continuing to make sure that I'm building the daily habit. And for whatever reason, this game is way too hard for me anyway, to just not think about that stuff in the warm up, to make sure, even though we're just tapping the ball back and forth, am I creating space with my feet from the very first ball that's tapped to me, as opposed to standing there rooted, anchored, and just tapping and talking about, I don't think the Giants are going to be very good this year, right? So I mean, I feel like I have to do that every time I go out in the court to reestablish the habit of fundamentals. And for me, it's spacing. Number one key is, am I moving my feet to create space rather than reaching around my body to play a forehand or backhand, whatever? Number two is, am I actually tapping the ball and not pulling up and not looking out into the future? Am I actually tapping the ball and feeling where it's going and not having to get visual confirmation of what I've just done? And then the same thing, we back up the baseline. I mean, that might be a minute or two, right? Short court. And then it's another minute or two where I'm still back in the baseline, not hard swings, medium swing path, speed, but still going on those fundamentals, Jeff. And then today I might go out and say to myself, today I want to work on X. And if I go out and say I want to go work on X from the moment I hit the first ball, if I haven't reestablished the fundamentals, trouble.
Yeah, and that's where so the question, circling back to the original question, right? He got all this stuff in his head. So somewhere along the way, and this addresses some of the things that I wrote at the base of what I want to mention here, is somewhere along the way in his lessons, whether he was taking from somebody for years, for a long time, somewhere along the way, there was no distinction made that we're going to work on this for the next 2-3 months in terms of building the foundation of stroke production, right? He's got years behind him, a lot of tennis. He said a lot of lessons and all this stuff, but nowhere along the way did somebody just go grab him by the throat and go, hey, if we take care of these things, these other things will kind of find their place on the menu. And so this is where it becomes really fundamentally important to know, is your pro taking into account your age, your athleticism? And when I use the word athleticism, I'm not saying you need to have really high athleticism. I'm just saying, is he aware of your athleticism, plus or minus? Like I said, I've been at clubs and blah blah blah. I've taught the 2Os that never touched the racket before to tour players, and I need to know who I'm dealing with. So it's irrelevant whether it's plus or minus on the athleticism, but I need to know what it is. So age, athleticism, injury, present or past, and like we talked about earlier, Brenny. Maybe I'm dealing with somebody who's 76. Is that what this guy just said his age was? 76, 71, something like that?
76.
Okay, so he may not even recall that when he was 24, he had a goofy injury to his shoulder swimming or something, recreationally swimming, or he's in a lake or anything. And occasionally this thing his shoulder kind of flares up and it bothers him. Well, there's an impingement there. Something's going on there. So am I, as a pro, asking him to do something that he can't physically do, but he thinks he can, but there's actually an issue here? So is your pro asking those questions that actually give him the information he needs to actually coach you as an individual? And I think that's, again, where we get lost in this overwhelming amount of information and not being able to distinguish what's actually going to what's actually going to move the needle and what's actually just going to give me something warm and fuzzy to think about in tonight's match. that gets me through the match maybe, but then it kind of fades, and it's just part of the, information that's floating in my head. So hopefully
That's good. That's good. Well, listen, I want to go to his last question because I think the other ones are kind of related to this. He says, my most common difficulty is being a quote unquote net player. This is talking about doubles rather than a baseliner, and not having like-minded partners, baseliners who only come to the net as service partner or returner's partner. So I get this question a lot. I know you do too, right? I've got a partner who doesn't like to play at net. They want to be back on the baseline. In fact, when I'm returning serve, they start on the service line, and when I hit a good return back cross court, they back up.
Right.
So how do I play with it with someone like that? And the reality is a couple things. If you have a choice, if there's a way to find someone that you feel more compatible with, then go find that. Then go find that player. But the reality is that we get partnered up in different events or whatever it is with someone who doesn't have the same mindset as we do in terms of, I feel great at net. I want to be the man. I want to scissor kick overheads, ESPN top 10 shots of the day, 11 p.m. at night, whatever. So it happens a lot in mixed doubles where you've got a gal who doesn't want to be up at net, right? And so she feels really good back in the baseline. And I always go, and I always say, great. You love to be back there. Here's what, well, and then I'll take it to the next thing. Do you feel better with a forehand? Feel better with a backhand? What should I anticipate when you get a backhand? Well, I feel better lobbing. Terrific. Great. Yeah. I love that. But the reality is, Jeff, you just can't shoehorn someone into your playing style and say, well, I just can't play with that partner who doesn't do the same thing I do.
Right.
You've got to find a strategy. And look, if I've got a baseliner and they've got groundies that they can go cross court and they're so accurate they can get it down at that incoming server's feet, or if there's another baseline cross court from them, they can play a little dropper. Sign me up.
Yeah. I think there's nothing you're going to do in 10 minutes to change a 30-year habit to get this person, male or female, to move forward.
Right.
They don't like being there. So like you said, you've got to figure out what they like to do, and you've got to make adjustments to figure out.
You have to be the one to adjust, not meaning that you've got to go back in the baseline, but you got to figure out a real life strategy. How do I take their strong points, right? And how do we construct points to move the meter here? How do we do it? And that's where you have to go with that. There is no, like we said, you're not changing somebody who doesn't want to be there. They're going to make sure they're not there as much as possible. And if they don't want to be there, you don't want them there anyway, because you're not going to get what you want. And here's the other truth in this is that it is very possible, and it's a must. You have to change. You have to change your tactics to do it. There's lots of teams now that play baseline doubles, world class and otherwise, that are very successful because they've figured this out. They figured out that tennis is not a box, and what used to be traditional thought is no longer the norm. You've got to be able to think outside the box and understand what's my skill set, what's my partner's skill set. How do we work together to create and construct points that feed our strengths so that we can get this job done? I mean, it's just so. Bryant's got an interesting question here about
the 2-5 lady.
Yeah. So to me, I would ask Bryant, well, what skill level are you? And assuming, Bryant, that you're 4-0-ish, if not more or higher, that you can do some damage. If you've literally got a 2-5 lady over there,
one, she's not poaching,
and one, this is not a competitive match. I mean, if you two guys are 4-0 and you're playing against a 2-5 lady and maybe a 3-5, I don't know, whatever, but this has got to be less about, well, I got to win today, because it's just the way it is. I mean, you don't have similar skill levels on the court. So I would say, number one, it would be cruel. You don't want to hit her. You don't want to hurt her.
Listen, in the nationals, when I'm playing, gold ball events, playing mixed, I don't do it. I don't go at the gal with sitters and stuff like that. I mean, in the normal course of play, I'm going to do what I do, but at the same time, I'm always I don't unleash on the girl.
No, but I will take a return sometimes. And you're talking about national level, where you got the gal who's at least a 4-5, if not a 5-0. Okay, that's a pretty darn good skill level.
Right.
And I don't have a problem on a return.
Right.
Maybe driving it right at them. I'm not head hunting. I'm certainly not taking a short overhead and trying to tattoo her. Not trying to tattoo the guy either.
Right.
Unless he's kind of that kind of guy that we know out there. But I digress. Anyway, but shoot, I mean, and that may not be the right tactic, right?
I think, again, because that's a 2-5 lady, even a 2-5 guy, for that matter. One, their overhead is probably not going to be something to be scared of. So just putting a ball up higher, just to put it out of their range, out of their comfort zone, and that's on anything that you hit them, is probably going to be enough to get the job done. Because at 2-5, there just isn't the repetition. They don't have the reps under their belt to hit. Can they hit 3 forehands in a row that are standard issue, solid? So
look, mine and I play, these national husband-wife events, and we go out against teams in early rounds where we've got could be a guy, could be a gal, but a solid 2-5. Which is a thing, right? Well, look, the last thing I'm going to do is try to be the man against a 2-5 gal.
Yeah, there's no payoff there.
There's no payoff at all. I might hit some balls at her, but it's more just, I don't know. I mean, we're going to win the point anyway. Even if I go half speed at her, we're going to win the point anyway. Because she might get it back, but she's going to get it back in such a way that there's the lower 40 now to just kind of bunt a ball into. All right, we've accomplished what we want to do by winning the point, but we haven't intimidated her like you could. What's the point?
Well, what's the point, right? And are we? This circles back to a completely different discussion that we've had in the past, and that is, in that situation, you've got a 2-5, you're playing, it's competitive. Don't you want this person to keep playing? Aren't we also to be ambassadors of the sport? I know we're playing competitive, it's league. No, she signed up, he signed up for it voluntarily, blah, blah, blah. Our job, if we're the better player on the court, especially in that situation, is to be an ambassador to the sport, to be to honor the traditions of the sport, to honor the traditions of the game, and to conduct ourselves in a manner that is honorable and noble. And I want this person to stay in the game. I want to, like, for you, and for me too, it's like, God, I hope this gal sticks with it. I'd like to see her in this tournament next year and see what she's done, see what he's done. Have they improved? Did they go back to the court and start doing the work again? And because I treated them with respect and made the experience pleasant, even though we beat them 6-0, 6-0, did they still have a good experience?
Yeah.
You
Guys,
know.
Jeff, we're a little bit over an hour. So what I'm going to say here now is, guys, if you have a question, one last question for the great Jeff Jacklich, now would be the time to throw it into the comments.
So I think there's a great one there by Mark Jordan there. You think most pros can actually build a foundation for a student? I'd say no. I know that's just an honest, brutal. That's what I think.
No, I think you and I have been spoiled in terms of we just, whether it was pure luck or whatever, we ended up with the right coaches. You know, I talk about Tom Stowe. You talk about Giuseppe all the time. You know, a Tom Stowe disciple.
Yeah.
But I also think there are a lot of pros out there, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they just, for whatever reason, they never had the good fortune that we've had to be able to really work with someone who does understand the fundamentals. And so.
Yeah. So I'm not making that comment in a condescending way. Like,
I know you're not.
Like they're idiots or something like that. It just means, and I'd say, I think this is true now, especially, is that so many pros now have not been mentored, have not been educated. So it doesn't make them bad guys, but they're lacking this. They have a blind spot, and the challenge is that most don't even know they have a blind spot. You know, so you know, one of the other things I wrote down here was, if you're a senior player and let's just say 60, and you go out to your pro and he says, "Hey, I want to do this drill with you today. I use it with the juniors all the time." You have to seriously think about who this guy is that's coaching you. Because to me, that is like, you realize I'm 60. And what is the drill actually? You've got to ask questions now about, like, get the details about what fundamentally are you trying to accomplish with me by doing this high performance junior drill? Because I get you know, clients that describe to me things that the pro has done, and they, well, you know, my back's been bothering me now for the last few weeks. Oh, just my shoulder now is kind of. I go, well, what happened? Blah blah blah. They stood there for 30 minutes doing this thing, you know, and I just shake my head and gotta go, oh boy, here we go. Okay, and I got to get them back on track. So anyway, it's just
well, that's good. No, that's right. So look, I mean, I think to wrap this up, there'd be two fundamentals I'd want everyone to take away from today, and for the next month, the next 30 days. Forget all the other stuff. Forget all the YouTube tips. Forget all this other stuff that you're getting, and just focus on these two things. And I got this actually from the great Bill Crosby, who used to be an assistant for Tom way, way back in the day. And Crosby got to be he and Bobby Perez, I think, back in early 60s, were, you know, number 2 or number 1 doubles team in the U.S. Crosby, one of the cleanest tennis ball hitters I've ever seen. Just ridiculous.
Smooth ball striker.
Just ooey gooey. Anyway, but I asked him once, and this is after I've been working with Tom for, you know, maybe 6 months, and I was struggling and fighting the ball a little bit. And one day he came up to me, he said, "You know, you're doing a great job. You're really, I can see you're working." And he said, "There's only 2 things you have to do now." And of course, I'm just salivating. God damn it, Tim, come on, Bill, what are they? Just go, please, I'll pay you, whatever.
Hanging on the fence.
Yeah. Right. And he said, number 1, just get into the hitting position immediately, whatever that is. And so if you kind of unpack the hitting position, it means that, as you described, that you've turned the framework, that you've created this framework in terms of a turn. So it's not that you're pulling the ball in at the same ball speed, or you're making the turn at the same speed the ball's coming in. No, you've made this a two-part deal. You've actually eliminated the forward-facing ready position, and you've committed. Hey, the ball's either on my right or it's on my left. So it's either forward
two choices. That's the good news. There's only two choices.
Right. And so, number one, it's getting into the baseball hitting position, the golf hitting position. To me, it's better with baseball. But getting into that hitting position, you've committed right or left instantly, right?
Yeah.
The other part of getting into the hitting position, according to Bill Crosby, is, you've talked about this, is spacing. Are you using your feet once you're nicely turned to create the spatial distance away from that path of the incoming ball?
Right.
And if you've done that now, and I said, okay, Bill, what's the next one? He said, just decide where you want to hit it.
Right.
I said, wait. I've been working with Stowe for 6 months. I'm doing all this. He goes, I said, that's it? He said, with the work you've now put in, if you'll do those two things over and over and over again, he said, I can't guarantee that every time you hit a tennis ball, it'll be the perfect shot, but you'll give yourself the best opportunity to hit the shot that you want to hit if you'll follow those two fundamentals.
Yeah.
Get into the hitting position instantly, and then just decide where you want to hit it. And don't waver on that decision. I mean, we could go through up the line, at the guy, cross court, dropper, this, that, slice, drive, looper. No, whatever's the first thought. Just go with it. Shout it out to the world. I'm going standard rally ball cross court. Oh boy. Now you're screwed. No, you're not. So
the other guy's got to touch the ball. Ooh.
That's right. That's exactly right. All right. I'm going to leave you 30 seconds. Any parting words here for us, Jeff?
I think, great question from Keith Abel. Keith, good to see you. Why do pros let people move on when they have not mastered a single stroke? Again, I've got clients, hundreds of clients in the past years that, but the session wasn't about that. The session was about, a little bit of a workout, massage the ball a little bit, and that's what they wanted though. So it depends on the client and what they actually want. If as a pro, he's tuned into who he's coaching, right? But for me, ask anybody who's like, okay, Jeff, Mike Rogers being one of them, even though he's not on the call anymore, was, I want to do this. And the minute he made that statement, we had a long discussion. Part of the session was we sat there, like I said, the very first session, we probably sat there for 30, 45 minutes. And tell me what you really want, Mike. And then I had to explain to him how much time it's going to take. But he already had a little fundamental idea about that. He probably was looking at, when I get to the 65s, I want to be at this stage in my development. So he already kind of had a decent idea. But when we got into it, I saw his video. I can't take you any further until you get this down. And he put in the work, and over this last year, it reflected that. So now we can go other places now. So,
well, look, I'm going to give students kind of the benefit of the doubt on this. I think it's a great question that Keith is asking. I think one of the challenges that teaching pros at clubs have is they feel like, I've got this player out here for 60 minutes. I have to make a difference. They're going to give me, there's got to be some kind of value exchange, right? They're going to give me money at the end of this thing. And so I got to make sure that they feel like they're getting something from it. And so I think that's why we get into this quick fix tip thing going on, because of this mindset from teaching pros, which is I've got to give them something, or maybe they won't come back, as opposed to what you're saying, Jeff, which is the first time you have someone out there, you got to find out, well, what is it you want to do? Why are you here with me? And if someone wants to tell me, you know what, Brent, I just want kind of a nice workout today. If you see something, that's great. So when they tell me that, I'm not going to give them a tip as opposed to I'm going to find something they do really well. And I'm going to say, I think you got to do more of that.
Yeah.
I think you got to do a whole lot more of that and forget this other stuff. If I got someone like what you're talking about with Mike Rogers, which is, hey, I'm committed to playing a tournament schedule. I'm committed to working with you. I'm committed to putting in the time. Then it gets down to the reality is, well, what do you want to do? All right. Then I kind of go, well, why do you want to do it? Why? Because what you're asking is
Right.
you're asking for 2 years.
You're going to want to kill yourself in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I know look, hey, Jeff, I got a tournament coming up in April. Can you fix this thing?
No.
And at that point, I'm going to go, dude. I mean, if you're talking about April of 2023, we're good.
Yeah.
But 2022, not going to happen. So I think that if I'm going to put the responsibility on the players that if you're going to go get coaching, you got to go to that guy and say, here's what I want to do. How long do you think it'll take me to figure it out and make it automatic? And if the guy says, oh, we can have you a couple lessons, hey, you know what? I've got a 10 lesson package. If you sign up for that, you'll get a lesson free. I go, oh, you mean kind of like Starbucks kind of thing? Come on.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, that's it. I guess we could go on forever, unfortunately. Yeah. Maybe to the detriment of everybody.
I have a client at 10 o'clock. I got to actually get my stuff together here.
Yeah. Okay, man. All right, guys, listen, if we didn't answer something you wanted to ask today, or we weren't clear on something, feel free to shoot me an email. Brent at webtennis.com. Jeff, you're still over at Jeff at Jacklich365.com?
Yep.
Okay. And I love this guy's handle here, Fiend at Court, as opposed to Friend at Court. Out of the way. I'm assuming that's not a typo.
Yeah, I like it.
So, all right, Jeff, thanks, man. Always good. We'll do this again soon, I hope.
Yep, you got it.
All right, guys. Talk to you later. Thanks. Bye. And broadcast, and there.